Ciao familia and welcome to another YouTube video. In this video, like the title says, we're going to be exploring all the new variations of exercises that target your glutes. Before we start, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe because I'm ill at the moment. Every time I bloody go out, I went on a night out on literally the weekend and I've got a cold already. Like, am I the only one that every time goes out gets a cold? Anyway, this is to show you the level of commitment that I've got to you, familia. So I should have been like at home, probably sipping my hot tea on the couch, working with my laptop, but yet again, I'm here showing up for you. So I deserve a subscribe to the channel. Thanks. So why are we going to look at different exercise variations? Obviously, okay, as science progresses up, there is more technology coming around, more testing done, we can discover more things that are yet even more effective to target the glutes. So as you know, familia, obviously I'm a personal trainer, I'm a qualified personal trainer. I train clients on a daily basis, if not on an hourly basis. So I know what I'm doing, but obviously I have quite extensive knowledge when it comes to training. But for me, it's all about learning new things and also learning what's coming and keeping myself updated with the new training methods, techniques, and exercises that are out there as the world develops. Now, of course, not everything works for everyone and everyone is going to have different needs. If you want me to personalize a plan for you and only you, where I can basically we can put together exercises to test to see what works for you. If you don't think that an exercise works, I can swap it with something else, so I can create the most optimal program for growth for you as an individual, because everyone is different. Link down below for one-to-one online coaching. Now, the first thing, so I'm going to take you downstairs in a minute and show you all the different exercises, etc., to grow the bunda. But the most important thing that I want you to know is when you do a program, okay, you should be including at least 4 categories of exercises into your program. If I do the program for you, you don't have to worry and I have to do everything for you, personalize everything for you. But if you want to do it yourself, you always make sure that you include at least a hip thrust variation, okay? Either squat or lunge variation, which means that it stretches the muscle and the muscle focuses on the stretching. With the hip thrust instead, the peak of the movement is when the muscle contracts at the top, which is completely the opposite, but we need both. But also an abduction variation, okay, to work out lovely gluteus medius and minimus, and I did a YouTube video specifically explaining all the different exercises that target the top area of your glutes, aka gluteus medius and minimus, side booty, whatever you want to call it, and a hinge or pull variation. What is a hip hinge? If you follow me for a while, you know what it is. But briefly, it's basically all the deadlift variations, good morning variations, or anything like that. So I'm going to show you these variations and I will tell you which belongs to which, and I will show you at least one of each. Ideally, when you do your glute focus day, you want to aim at doing at least one exercise per category, okay? Now, that being said, let's go downstairs and let's start exploring the best booty building exercises. Honestly, when I tell you that I have to blow my nose in intervals during this video, let's go now. When I tell you that I'm actually ill, I am ill, and honestly feel like a sickly child right now. Let's go, it's fine, let's go. Starting with the hip thrust variation, obviously, the hip thrust category, sorry. So obviously this exercise I'm about to show you is not a hip thrust. However, the concept is the same, because when I do a hip thrust, when you do a hip thrust in general, okay, the focus of the movement, the peak of the movement is when you squeeze at the top, okay? So this is when you will feel the exercise the most. If you don't reach lockout, like so, you're probably not making the most out of the exercise, which is really important. You really focus on the concentric movement, the concentric part of the movement, which is when you come up at the top. Now, this variation of this exercise is quite similar, which is not a hip thrust, but still focuses on the concentric part of a movement, which is when basically you squeeze your glutes as much as you can. And this normally leads to the most activation, glute activation, okay? First of all, you want to set your safety bars first, so that if you lose control of the bar, you always have this to catch it. Second thing, I always like to do this, because especially when you do the Smith machine, you've got the hooks, they'll tend to get stuck on the little bends over here, okay? So I normally just use an ankle strap, which I got from Amazon, and I also use it for my cable kickbacks, okay? So I just get the ankle strap and I tie it so that I block basically the hook from getting stuck. Okay, but with this, if you apply this method, you need to make sure that you have this, otherwise you won't be able to drop it anyway and it'll just be a mess. So this first, safety bars on first, then you grab a bench and you get it close to the Smith machine, okay? So to set up this movement is a little bit more awkward at first, but it's really, really good when focusing at the really good squeeze of your muscles. You lay down, I know it's a little bit awkward to do at first, but heels on the bar, okay? You want to be stable, okay, and close enough to the bars. And then what I want you to do is just squeeze up your glutes. Now, one thing with this that I want you not to do instead, is a lot of people tend to squeeze too much, which means that they start overextending the back, and it means that the hips, for example, start raising and lifting up the bench. You want your body completely attached to the bench the whole time. The only thing you're moving is your legs. So make sure you keep the rest of your body on the bench, okay? And only focus on squeezing as hard as you can at the top, and then come back all the way down. Since we're here, we're going to be looking at another category, which is the lunge and squat variation. This is completely opposite to what we've just seen. Like we said now, we've been focusing on the concentric part of the movement, which is the squeeze of your glutes. Now we need an exercise, one type of exercise that really focuses instead on the stretching of the glutes, which is the opposite. So these are things like squats, lunges, any sort of variations within this, but in particular today we're going to be looking at step ups, and we're going to be doing them on the Smith machine for one reason. I'm going to show you in a minute why. So next category that we're going to be looking at is the lunge or squat variation. Now this is obviously lunge variation. You can do split squats, lunges, squats, or whatever you want. However, this is a great alternative, especially if you're training glutes more than once a week. So you could do one day, you could do squats, for example, and the next day you could do this variation, which is really, really good. Now, why this is so good? Because this is a unilateral exercise, and unilateral exercise is great to fix muscle imbalances, okay? You can also do this on the normal squat rack. However, if you're a beginner, you struggle a little bit more with balance, I actually recommend using the Smith machine first. So you'll be needing a stepper or anything that can elevate you. You can also use a big plate, okay, at your gym, or anything that is slightly above your ankles, like this one, okay? So you'll have your Smith machine ready. I got rid of the ankle strap, you don't need it, but if you want, you can also set up the safety bars in case you need them, or if you drop the bar. That's the first thing you always need to do when you use the Smith machine. Okay, so next thing, so you're gonna get the dumbbell, get the foot, you choose whichever leg you wanna start on, foot on the platform, okay? On the platform, you wanna lean more forward, okay? So you're just leaning forward and hinging down as you perform the movement, and go all the way down like so. Okay, again, come back up, straight, okay? No need to squeeze, remember, this is not a squeezing exercise. Squats, lunges, and all these things, you don't have to focus on the squeezing. There is no point. The most important thing is when you come down and when you stretch instead. That's why it's really important that you try to get as low as you can with these kind of exercises. Really good to stretch this part of your muscle, the lower area, lower region of your glutes. Okay, you're leaning slightly forward and come back up. Okay, you want to go as low as you can. If you stop here, you're not doing anything. There's no point of you using a platform if you don't go low enough. The reason why we're using a platform is so that we can reach a deeper range of motion, okay? If you struggle, you can remove these and make it slightly lower for you and easier too. but again, great exercise for your lower glutes. Moving on to a hinge type or exercise hinge category. Now, hip hinging exercises are all the exercises like Romanian deadlifts, good mornings, deadlifts in general, the deadlift variations. Hip hinge means that you're pushing your hips back as you start the movement, okay? So, like we do a normal RDLs, Romanian deadlift or sumo deadlift, the first thing you always need to do, and the first mistake that in fact people make instead, is bending almost forward. But that's not the key of the movement. The key of the movement is starting it by you pushing your hips back, okay? And I actually got a little trick for you if you're not really used to doing that you can possibly help you with this. I want you to position these a little bit higher, okay, so that they're at your hip level. So about here, okay? You want them at your hip level, these on the squat rack. So same thing, 3, 3, okay? Next thing you do, you grab a resistance band and you basically secure it at either extremities of the squat rack, like so, okay? So there should be a little dent here that would help you. What you do, you just place this in your hip area, okay? And these should basically help you push your hips back and teach you the right and correct movement pattern. Because a lot of people actually really struggle with this, and I see that a lot. They try to push their hips back, but they always end up leaning forward with the torso instead, which is not a hip hinge anymore and also leads to back pain as well. So this could be a great starting point. You want to practice with no weight, or also with a dumbbell or with a bar alone first to get you used to the movement. But now the variation that has been recently introduced, and I want you to actually really practice it, because again, it's a great unilateral exercise, a great to fix muscle imbalances. What are muscle imbalances? For example, if you have one side stronger than the other, one side bigger than the other, this should be really, really good to help you balance everything out. So I'm going to do it with a bar, but you can do it with a dumbbell or whatever you prefer. So you grab it, okay? And this is a B stance or single leg RDL. So what you do, other leg is just there as support, okay? So just on your tiptoes, and the stable leg should be the one flat on the floor, okay? Hip hinge, so you look down as you descend, and you stop between the middle of your shin, and then come back up. And then again. This focuses on the stretching of the muscle as well. Again, you don't need to really squeeze at the top. Squeezing is not really for this category of the exercise. Like we learned before, squeezing, we leave it to the hip thrust variation. So next category, we're going to be looking at the abduction category, aka the one that will target your gluteus medius and minimus, okay? This actually variation of the cable machine is actually called gluteus medius kickback. So it couldn't be more side glutes or top glutes than this. Now, you all have seen it all over TikTok, and that's what, to be honest, how I started seeing it myself, and I started implementing it. It is a little bit harder to get the kind of to get used to the movement, but once you do and you practice more, you will understand it more, I promise you. So the first few tips I can give you to get this right is to position the cable attachment at a higher up level. Normally for your kickbacks or for your side kicks, you will normally place this at the lowest setting. But this time I'm going to be just position it just below our knees. That's the first thing I want you to remember. Obviously we're going to be strapping our ankle, and the rule is, okay, you always strap the ankle that is further away from the cable. So if I'm doing this legs, okay, and I'm facing forward, I will not be strapping this leg, I will strap the opposite leg, which is further away from the cable. Next thing, I always want to start with my feet, okay, together, holding onto the cables, okay? You need to maintain an upright position. You can't lean forward more, because the more you lean forward, you will not tend to engage your glutes as much, okay? So with the leg that is strapped up, I want you to rotate it at 30-degree angle. This is essential for me, especially because it will tend to help you target this area a little bit more. So 30-degree angle, and you just kick to the side. Now, I want you to drive the movement, not just by simply pushing your leg away, but simply almost like you're squeezing away your glutes as you're distancing the cable away from the attachment here. Now, one thing that you might not be able to see from the camera, but I'll just show you from this side, you're not kicking laterally, you're not kicking back, you're kicking at an angle, okay? So I want you to kick diagonally on a 30-degree angle. I'm not kicking laterally like this, okay? I'm not kicking back, just an angle diagonally, okay? With my foot tilted, squeezing as hard as I can here. You should really be able to feel this over here. And then when you come back, let me just get on this side so you can see it. I want you to cross over the other leg so you achieve a nice range of movement. You don't stop here. Make sure you cross over the leg. And then again, you kick at the angle, not on the side, at an angle. That is key. Okay, on to another abduction variation. I thought I would give you another one just because I understand that that is slightly more complicated to get, and like I said, sometimes it might take you a while to fully feel it, but make sure that you kick at an angle, not laterally, not back, but an angle diagonally, and you should feel it. Also, just drive the movement with your glutes. Now, you might know this exercise already, okay, but I've got another variation for you. So that is the normal abduction machine, okay? Now, I actually got another variation that I saw Brett Contreras, one of my favorites, explain it in his, and he's also been researching loads about glutes and glute training in general. And he showed this variation, which I actually think is really, really good. So you will get on, there's a little bit more complicated and a little bit more awkward, not gonna lie, but it activates your sides a lot more. So you just basically get and rest on the shoulder thing, and you just abduct like this. Push against the pads, and you should really feel it here. If you struggle, lower the weight, but honestly, this is another great variation that focuses on the stretching of your glutes. So I'll put it on the squat lunge category as well. It's a normal leg press, however, I like to do it slightly different, which will be slightly harder, but basically just one leg like this, okay? So always make sure that you can reach full range of motion. So if this is not, it's still restricting it, make sure you just pull all the way down. Higher up on the platform means more glutes, okay? And this will really focus on stretching your glutes. But for this, you need to make sure that your knees touch your chest, okay? No half reps, otherwise you're not really targeting your glutes to their fullest potential. So come all the way down and then up. When you come up, make sure you don't straighten up your leg and always maintain a slight bend. And with this, just make sure that you use lighter weights, because obviously single legs will be much harder in terms of the variation. Bonus point, I feel like this variation just recently got talked about more. I started hearing it about last year or something, and this is the cast variation. So what's the difference between a cast and a hip thrust? Let's get our lovely dumbbell on, okay? So obviously you'll be doing these with a barbell. I'm just showing you with a dumbbell so that you can see it better, because if I use a barbell, obviously it will cover the motion. So with a hip thrust, okay, when you do a normal hip thrust, you basically want to aim to touch the floor with your plate or with your glutes. But with a cast, it's basically exactly the same, but the range of motion is halved. So you only will stop here and then come back up again here and come back up. What's the main difference? Basically, when you go all the way down during a hip thrust, you'll tend to target your quads and legs a little bit more, okay? Whereas if you stop here, you'll just focus on your glutes. So something to think about: if you want to target your glutes, you might want to prefer cast glute bridges to the normal hip thrust. Anyway, for me, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because it really helps me and you never miss any content this way. But thank you so much for watching, and see you next time with another video.